spotlighting Hawaii's leaders.
We want to bring in Governor David E.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Lieutenant Governor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Mayor Derek Kawakami.
Thank you so much, Senator, for being here.
Spotlighting the issues.
Where is the virus right now in our community?
How much is this overall going to cost the state?
How are you responding to the community's concerns? Talk about the level of citations that you guys are writing.
Spotlight Hawaii with Yunji Denise and Ryan Kalei Suji on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs and Beachside Roofing.
Happy Aloha Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in here on January 28th. As we end this month of January, we are featuring a guest this morning that we've never had on this program, Yunji.
That's right. Developer Peter Savio is joining us this morning. He is here to share some of his ideas on housing and also to talk about some potential political ambitions. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
We're so happy to have you. So there have been some rumblings in other publications and also just in the world of politics that you could be considering a run for governor. Tell us about how this rumor started and what those conversations have been like.
Yeah, basically the GOP asked me to come and speak to their committee on housing and explain Hawaii's problems and how to solve it. And I did that, and apparently I blew them away. They asked me to come back a few weeks later to speak to a larger group, and they had Senator Pavella and Representative Ward and all of the elected officials, including their, political action groups and stuff. And I blew them away, and they ended the meeting by asking me to run for governor, which I chuckled. And I'm really not a candidate. They want me to run for governor. They like the solutions, and that's what sort of started it. The meeting was at Pagoda Restaurant, so apparently somebody heard the request for me to run and the applause and all of that. And they didn't hear my response, which was, I'm not a candidate. My family doesn't want me to run. But, it's been interesting to see how, who says you should run and who says you shouldn't. All of my enemies are telling me I should run. All my friends are telling me I shouldn't. So it's interesting.
Is that something, though, that you are considering, that you are still taking into account this potential candidacy?
I would run if my family would support, but my family has made it very clear they don't think I should run. So my answer has to be no, I'm not a candidate and I'm not running. If my family changes their mind, I don't mind running, but I am not a candidate and I have no intention of being one at this point.
Well, that's very interesting because you still have quite a bit of time before you'd have to officially declare. So let's talk about some of those ideas that you say blew them out of the water. We know that, of course, you've been in the world of housing here in Hawaii for a long time and have done a lot of projects that, especially in the world of affordable housing. Housing is at the core of so many of the issues facing our state right now. So tell us a little bit about what you think needs to be done in that arena.
Well, the solution, part of the problem is it's a solvable solution. We could solve it over a 10-year period. We just don't quite understand the problem. And because we don't understand the problem, the solutions don't work. When I was a kid, housing was unaffordable. I'm 73 years old now, and housing's still unaffordable. We still have people leaving because they can't buy. And the problem is we don't understand our market. So if you look at our market right now, we went from a local market and we've become an international market. Now, you got to understand real estate being local is important because by definition, a real estate market builds properties that the community can afford. So when you're a local market, we build properties local people can afford. When you're an international market, you build properties that mainland foreign buyers can afford. And that's where we are. Now, if you understand that, the solution is different than what we're doing. Everything we're doing now will fail. The basis on which it's being done is the wrong assumption.
And so what was your recommendation to maybe change that, that perception and the way in which things are being managed now to be able to put more emphasis on those local buyers?
Okay. The key is, one, the government has to make 100% commitment to affordable housing, meaning every decision they make dealing with housing, dealing with development, has to be about affordable housing for local people. Okay. Once the government makes that kind of a commitment, everything else sort of falls into place. The first step is you have to make housing affordable forever, not for 30 days, not for 60 months, not for 5 years or 10 years. You got to make it affordable forever. So we have to change our rules on that. And in doing that, you will bifurcate or split our market into two parts: the mainland international market and the local market, which will have prices and everything based on the income that local people earn. The easiest way to solve the problem immediately is to build 30, 40,000 Hawaiian homes. Hawaiian homes, by its very nature, can only be sold to local people. Japanese national can't buy, mainland can't buy, Europeans can't buy, only native Hawaiians. If we can solve that, that would immediately open up rental units and other units within our marketplace. And that would be sort of an immediate loosening of the market. So the commitment to Hawaiian homes is very important in a strategy to solve the problem. The other thing then is everything else we built, rental housing. We should not build rental housing that's owned by developers or wealthy investors. We need to build rental housing that's owned by the tenants. It's important to understand in real estate, wealth is created through the ownership of real estate. If you bought a home in 1960, it was unaffordable. You struggled to buy it. It cost $22,000. The government was investigating developers to find out why pricing was so high, why monthly payments were so high, $225, $250 a month. Today, we laugh about it. That same house today is worth $700,000, $800,000, maybe $1 million. The interesting thing is the person who bought the house paid $59,000 in interest. The person who rented the house paid $2 million in rent, because rent doesn't go away. What we're doing by building rental housing is we're giving the wealth of our people to the mainland guys, to the owner of the building. Right off the bat, it's wrong. Housing has to be owned locally. Rental units have to be owned. If we make just a few changes in how we do everything, we solve the problem. I think in 10 years, we could have our owner occupancy up to 70, 80, 90%. But it involves a complete commitment from the government. It involves a commitment to change some of the rules. It involves a commitment to provide financing at low interest rates for the low and moderate income buyers. But it is a solvable problem. Right now, nobody thinks it can be solved because we're treating symptoms. We're not solving the problem. We have structural problems that need to be corrected for the market and the problem to be solved.
Now, if you did a project like that, where you built that kind of housing stock on Native Hawaiian homelands, who would pay for that? And how on earth would you get the developer buy-in? Because you're talking about doing things at a rate that perhaps, the people who are building the homes, would they still make enough money? And where do you propose the money come from to do a project like that?
Okay, again, so you believe what everyone's been telling us for the last 100 years about Hawaiian Homes. Hawaiian Homes is an absolute failure. It will continue to be a failure. It will never meet the demand because their structure is absolutely inappropriate for Hawaii. They don't use a typical land lease. They use a sharecropper's lease. It creates no value for the Hawaiian family. So they give you a lease that if it was a Bishop Estate lease would be worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. So you wouldn't need a down payment and you could finance it yourself. And then they tell you, but you cannot use the value of the lease. You only have to finance the house. So you got a lease that was free. Now you got to build a $300,000 or $400,000 house, and you got to put 20% down. So right off the bat, you've eliminated most Native Hawaiian families. In fact, you've eliminated most people living in Hawaii from being able to build the home because you got to have the large down payment. If they'd go to a modern Bishop Estate type lease, they'd make a few other changes in their program. They would be able to finance these homes on the open market. The loans could be sold to the federal government. In the 1960s, when all of the largest states in Hawaii were asked to change their leases so they could be financed by the federal government and the federal loan programs, everybody changed their lease but Hawaiian Homes. They kept the old-fashioned lease. They kept the old-fashioned structure. The government's going to give them $600 million. Absolute mistake. They should give the money to the banks and tell them to loan it to Native Hawaiians who want to buy real estate. They do better buying on the open market than waiting for Hawaiian Homes to succeed. Hawaiian Homes is completely mismanaged by the state of Hawaii. And someday we're going to get sued again for billions of dollars to the gross mismanagement of Hawaiian Homes by the state government.
You know, this topic has already come up in the state legislature with on opening day, a commitment by lawmakers to invest money into, you know, the Hawaiian Homes and really getting that wait list that, you know, is pretty extensive, putting a dent into it.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, your thoughts on
throwing money at the problem is not going to correct it. The money is not the problem. The structure at the estate is the problem. If they change the structure, and of course they're going to tell you they can't, the federal government has to agree. That's not true. Our state is the trustee for that, or is the responsible party. We should be able to make the administrative change of a new lease. The other thing is they don't record at the Bureau of Conveyance, right? We should require they record at the Bureau of Conveyance because lenders want to see that. There's just a lot of little things that need to be corrected.
Now, tell us a little bit about the conversation with the GOP. Do you consider yourself a Republican? Why did you want to speak to them as opposed to speaking to the Democrats?
I've been speaking to the Democrats for 40, 50 years. They listen sometimes, most of the time they don't. People don't realize this, but Section 8 used to be a rental program only. I went to the legislature in the 80s and said, you need to change this to an ownership program. And Section 8's just the funnel through which the money flows to the wealthy landowner when we need it to stay. Senator Inouye loved the idea, and he actually got the law changed. So Section 8 now is an ownership program because little old me and little old Hawaii pointed out that it would be better for the people if we did that. Unfortunately, the government approves the concept, but never gave the financing to make it happen. The key is ownership is the solution to almost all of our problems. Even minimum wage. It's an illusion to think raising minimum wage is going to help with housing. It will help temporarily, but it won't be a permanent solution. The solution is to fund so people on minimum wage can own real estate, lock in a mortgage payment, so for the next 30 years, their rent or their mortgage does not go up. Then their minimum wage is something they can bear with or they can work with. I mean, all of our social problems, alcoholism, drug, child abuse, a lot of that is tied to the pressure we put on our people because they cannot afford to own. And because they can't own, they have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to survive. They don't have time with their family. Remember, that family who bought in 1960 is probably multimillionaires today because they paid off their loan at $200 a month, and all of their income went into a better lifestyle, went to investment, sending their kids to school, starting a business. And the guy who's renting, he's looking for another job. He's trying to struggle. Renting is not good in the state of Hawaii. If you rent, you cannot live in this state comfortably.
You know, you had mentioned, of course, this conversation that you had with the GOP and their encouragement for you to run. Obviously, this is a party here in Hawaii that is, you know, very much so the minority in terms of representation in the House and Senate and just in the overall landscape of Hawaii politics. Your thoughts on, you know, where the party stands as a whole, and has that maybe influenced you at all? The fact that they're, you know, it is a minority party, has that maybe played any influence into your decision making?
I'm not a Republican. I mean, I think I'm more Republican. If I had to class myself, I'm independent. So I'd be a conservative Democrat or a liberal Republican, right? And I think, you know, when you look at it, the Democrats have been here for 60 years. They've run the state for 60 years. We have the same problems when I was a kid. We have them today. Housing is the big one, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So, you know, we can say they're the guys in power, and they are, but I could give the other guys a chance. If we can get the Republican Party to have at least a bigger voice, you know, what we don't appreciate is the discussion we're having. The disagreement we can have is what creates thought and creativity and from which the solution flows. Right now, we have a situation where they just kind of all agree and follow along, and there's no innovation, there's no creativity. we need to shake things up. So I'm basically encouraging everyone to run for office. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, you should go out and run, because we definitely need a little more excitement in our legislature.
Well, I think you would definitely add some of that. Let's talk about the folks who are. No, you're still with us. We got you.
I lost you.
Oh, now do you have us? I hope you do. Oh, okay.
What did I do?
Well, I don't know what you did. We talked about this in the start of the show.
My mic's off. Oh, it's on, but you're not coming through.
Okay. Should we take him out and put him back?
I cannot hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on just one second. We talked about this actually at the start of the show, that we might have some issues with Peter's. Let's try adding him back. And Peter, do you have us now? And do you have us now, sir?
I don't hear anything.
Okay. Oh, well, now he's gotten himself out. Okay, so we're going to work with Peter on his connection. And while we do that, please do type your questions in the comments. There's the folks here asking what he thinks of the minimum wage. You heard him talk about there, just about how he doesn't think that that's going to make up enough of an impact. His real focus is on home ownership and changing the structure of how people are brought into having home ownership, saying that affordable rentals really are not the key, that it would be affordable home ownership to get us there. And now he's logged back.
Let's see if we can hear.
And let's see, Peter, do you hear us now?
I hear you very softly, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
well, I'll be Okay, good. Here we go. Now, you talked about wanting diversity in the race in terms, in the candidates. Let's talk about who is running and your thoughts on there. Are there any candidates that are currently running for governor that you feel like you can put your support behind? Of course, Vicky Cayetano is the only person who is officially announced, but we know that Lieutenant Governor Josh Green will be seeking that office, and potentially former Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell. Your thoughts on those three?
I'll be honest with you, I'm a very unpolitical sort of guy. I'm not really paying attention who's running. I don't do that until we get further into the election. So far, everyone I've talked to, everyone who's been interested in running and has talked to me, they do not understand real estate. They want the same solution everyone else has: throw money at it, throw money at it. You know, if a ship is sinking and you're throwing money at it, and if the money isn't used to plug the leak, it ain't going to work. And that's what we're doing. We're treating symptoms. We're not treating the problem. So far, I don't have a favorite. I think this election, I'm going to be a rebel and vote for everyone who's never been in office before. And just my way of protesting where we are.
You know, you had also mentioned that in your conversations with the GOP that a lot of your baseline discussion has been around housing, but through that conversation, obviously there are other issues. There are a lot more issues plaguing the state besides just housing alone. What other conversations have you had for them about issues that we may see develop in the platform policies that come forward through this legislative session by the minority party and the Republicans?
They basically started asking me questions about, all kinds of issues, from mass transit to schools to everything. And, I basically put it into my way of thinking in terms of real estate and how our market and our economy works. And I came up with solutions. And I think in every case, they were like, oh, wow, we never thought of that. Oh, wow, that's just kind of common sense. So they were shocked that I came up with solutions for just about everything.
Do you care to share any of those with us this morning? Let's talk, for instance, about traffic and mass transit. How would you approach that?
Mass transit is another example of not understanding our market in real estate. Mass transit could have been free. It wouldn't have cost the people a penny, and we could have had $1 billion in the bank to operate the system. Because by approving mass transit, we created value in real estate. If we had charged or assessed every property owner around a mass transit station $5 or $10 a foot when the property's developed, we would have raised billions and billions of dollars. Instead, we announced, we're going to give you the land, the zoning. We're going to give you special concessions. We're going to not require parking. We're going to allow additional density. So the $100 a square foot property became a $300 or $400 a square foot property. All that value goes to the landowner. Who paid for it? Who created it? The taxpayers. Our money went to pay for it, and we did not assess the landowners a fee. And it was a big mistake. We still can, I suspect, through user fee or impact fees. But that's the type of thing we do. And then we talk about affordable housing. Well, we just raised the price of land from $100 a foot to $500 a foot. How did that help affordable housing? We shoot ourselves in the foot all the time. The politicians do not have a clue how real estate works and how value is created.
I want to talk to you a little bit about just the real estate in Hawaii in general. I mean, what we're
You're
seeing.
soft. Can you turn it up?
What we're seeing, sure. I'll try to speak louder. What we're seeing with the.
I don't have a clue how to do it on my side, so.
Okay, I will try to speak as loud as I can. What we're seeing with the real estate market here in Hawaii and the price for housing and homes will continue to go up. What do you see overall with just the demand and what we're seeing right now in the real estate market as a whole? Do you see this trend continuing moving forward?
No, it's obvious it's going to continue. We are an international market. We don't build houses for local people. We build them for mainland buyers. We don't zone properties for local people. We zone them for mainland buyers. The market no longer is a local market. We're an international market. Once you're an international market, kiss affordability goodbye. We have to bifurcate our market. We have to create a local market that only local people can buy it. And you do that by putting in restrictions on every project that's approved for building for going forward should have a restriction that it has to be sold on the affordable market or in a certain income bracket or something. We're killing ourselves. We are not doing anything to help the local guys. We're helping the mainland buyers, the mainland retirees. We're helping the guys in Japan and Europe. We're not helping ourselves.
I want to bring in this comment from Keith Jones, who says, I'd say a huge issue with the Hawaii housing market is the non-resident ownership, what you were just talking about, Peter. I'd say that non-resident home ownership should have a different tax rate. This has been talked about before. What are your thoughts on that?
That's one of the suggestions I gave to the GOP, and they loved it. In fact, they even said, Peter, this is the first time we've ever said we'd love an increase in taxes. Hawaii is unique. We have a very unique problem. They want to use solutions that the mainland consultants give. I got news for you. The mainland is 80%, 90% like Hawaii. It's that 10 or 20% difference that causes us to constantly fail at solving our housing problem. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, whoever's been in control has always had the same position. Even the questions you're asking about the price of housing and what's happening, even the questions people ask about mainland buyers, we are an international market. We don't build for the local guys. We don't sell to the local guys. We're building at what a mainland retiree will pay. We're building what a mainland investor will pay. We're becoming a lot like Florida, where you're going to have all these retirees coming in. It skews the market. Luckily, Florida is big enough. It ain't going to be as bad. But you got to remember, Hawaii is a market of scarcity, unlike any market on the mainland. In San Francisco, you can go out a few miles. You can go out 10 miles. You can go out 20 miles. You can go into another city or town. Here, you got no place to go. So right off the bat, we're different.
And how would you define that local resident? At what point in time, I mean, what kind of qualifications would you need? Would it be a number of years of residency in order for yourself to be deemed a resident? We know that Hawaii is a transient place with many people moving to the islands. How would you define that?
The easiest solution is to use the present housing index where they talk about the medium income. So we should be selling houses at, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. If you're in the 30 or 40% medium income bracket, the 100% medium, if you buy at 100% medium income, you have to resell to someone at 100% of medium income. All I've done is I've created a local market. A local market is going to give you a unit at a good price and good financing. 20 years later, you're going to sell it to someone, not based on what the international market is paying, based on the local market, which is now tied to wages. So as our wages in Hawaii go up, our real estate goes up. And that's the definition of a real estate market in almost every community, unless you're a tourist destination or an international market. So we just have to put in that type of restriction. And we're not talking $700,000-800,000 affordable housing. I'm talking $300,000-400,000 affordable housing. I'm talking about the government changing the interest rate structure. We cannot change prices. We don't control the price of lumber, the price of concrete, the price of appliance, but we can control the monthly payment on the house. So if the government would subsidize the interest rates and bring a 3% interest rate to 1%, that 1% is like, 1/3 of the monthly payment. So the $700,000 house is now an affordable unit. So we have to look at subsidizing interest rates, bringing them down. And remember, you're only subsidizing for probably 10 or 15 years because their income will go up over that period and then it's done. Whereas if you put them into a rental housing, you're going to subsidize them forever. So again, ownership saves money. It may take a little bit of a hit up front, but if we don't do it, we lose our population, we lose our style of living, we lose our people. We are desperate right now. We have no choice. We got 5-10 years to make this commitment. And if we don't, local people are gone.
And just to clarify, I actually want to get to a viewer question, but just to clarify, how would you put in that residency requirement? What is to prevent someone from moving here, getting a job, and taking advantage of those prices? That
residency requirement is all of our affordable property now. I would put in the requirement you're a taxpayer. You're 18 years or older. Own no other real estate. You could put in requirements about net worth that is less than, et cetera, when you first enter the program. We already have it in place. We're using it. We just need to beef it up. None of my concepts change anything we're doing other than the commitment and where the money goes. Right now, all the benefits go to the developer. They go to the owner of the building. Why? Why don't the benefits go to the owners of the units? Why don't they go to the local residents? We are creating billions of dollars in value, and we're giving it away to the guy that owns the building or the guy that developed the building, and we're getting nothing. Our people are paying for it, but we're getting nothing.
I want to quickly, I know we're almost at the top of the hour, but I want to bring in this question from Heidi, who says, can you ask about views on short-term vacation rentals? This is talked about so much about limiting our rental stock. What are your thoughts on the short-term vacation rentals, so many of them illegal, and continued efforts by the city and county to crack down, but not very successful up until now?
Yeah. Short-term vacation rentals are one of the problems we are in this situation. They should be banned. And I know a lot of people say, oh, but I needed to buy the house and I need the money and I can't afford to buy. Well, you can't afford to buy because your government failed you. If the government had done it correctly and financed you at a 1 or 1.5 or 0.5% or a 2% interest rate, guess what? You don't need the vacation renter guy. You can live in your house. And if you're living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house and you're single, what the hell are you doing in a 3 or 4 bedroom house? Sell it and move into an apartment. We need that 3-bedroom house for another local family. People are being self-centered. They're being somewhat greedy. And I understand the struggle they're having, but it's not their fault. The government put them in that position, and the government only gave them one solution: rent the unit to get the money. We're not going to subsidize your rental. We're not going to help you buy. You're on your own. Our government failed us. And I'm tired of people blaming the owners. I'm tired of people blaming the guys doing vacation rentals, etc. The blame is with our government. Call your politician and tell them to get up off their butt and solve the problem. And if they can't, throw them out of office. It's simple, guys. It's simple.
It sounds, Ryan, to me like Peter's running.
No, I'm not.
You're telling people others to run.
I'm a local boy. I boarded Hilo. I've developed my whole career in real estate to helping local people get into ownership. I've given away $400 million in profit to the local buyers by discounting my prices. I sell at cost. I don't try to make profits on my developments. So I've made a difference. The problem is I'm the only one doing it. I sell to buyers as low as 20 and 30% of median income. And the sad part is, if I can do it as a private developer with no government funds, imagine what could be done if the government would support these kinds of concepts. This problem can be solved. And the politician who says it can't, throw him out of office. He has no creativity. Get politicians in there who are going to actually be leaders, are going to make some changes, and are going to solve our problems. I'm 73 years old. I am not going to give my kids and my grandkids the stupidity I have lived through for the last 60 years.
Well,
and I'm not running. I'm just an angry voter.
Well,
although you did say that if your family signs off, you could change your mind.
You don't know my family. We're a very non-political family. We always have been. We're independent voters. We're not. Listen, I'm a lousy politician. I really am. You can see by the emotion in me. I'd be a horrible politician. I'd be passionate, but I don't see myself running for office. I really don't. I do see myself encouraging people. I do see myself giving solutions. The Republican Party has really been excited about a lot of these ideas, and they're basically adopting it. So I suspect if that's true, next election you should vote Republican. I don't care who they are, guys. You're voting to save the state, and you've got 60 years of failure or the chance for change. I'm going to take the chance for change.
Okay, Peter Savio, thank you so much for joining us here this morning, sharing your thoughts and an update on your where you're at with your decision or your decision not to run for governor. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Aloha.
you.
Well, great to talk to him. Talk about a lot of energy. And we saw all of your comments and so many of you really wanting him to run. Sounds like you're not alone. You know, this conversation really started on our part, reaching out to him because we had heard those rumblings about these presentations that he's been giving to the state GOP and this call for him to run for office. He would be very different than the folks that we've seen run, and that would be very interesting. It sounds like he personally would be open to it, but he wants to defer to the wishes of his family.
Yeah, and you heard him as well. He would he's not necessarily would be a great politician. You can hear that passion, especially when it comes to housing, his ideas of how he feels the state needs to restructure its current development and how the overall mentality of housing here in Hawaii and the overall development and who it is garnered to, putting a lot of emphasis, obviously, on trying to get lawmakers and people within the industry to put more investment and put local residents at the forefront of this and making it more of an industry that is geared towards local residents rather than a market for international and mainland buyers.
Yeah, wonderful to hear from Peter Savio. And if he does change his mind, he will definitely be back on this show. We would love to have him back. Switching gears, on Monday, we are going to be talking to Hawaii Island Mayor Mitch Roth. We'll be interested to know what is happening on the Big Island and also his own experience having recovered from COVID-19. We haven't checked in with him for a while, so we're looking forward to that conversation on Monday. And on Wednesday, we'll be talking to the only person on the Democratic side who has declared for governor.
That's right. Vicky Cayetano, so far the only candidate who has officially announced that she is running. We talked about others who have all signs point to their decision to ultimately enter the race, but Vicky Cayetano right now, the only one who has formally announced. We'll get an update from her. We're hearing more of her policy ideas and her suggestions and how she would want to run the administration if she was elected into that position. So we look forward to catching up with her on Wednesday. We thank you for tuning in here on this Friday. We hope you all have a great weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Aloha.
Aloha.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs and Beachside Roofing.